Seasons are changing. Now it's time for meat. I've gotten some emails from people who are new homesteaders, and one of the comments and emails that I get, it's most common, is that they tried their garden and they were disappointed with the things that came up in their garden this year because of weather or, you know, pest pressures, things like that. And I've done videos on this before where I talk about, you know, every year you do something and there's going to be different results. Some years are going to be better with tomatoes, some years are going to be better with onions, some years are going to be better with peas, some years are going to be better with green beans, some years are going to be better with okra, some years are going to be better with whatever. And it just depends, you know, every year is going to be different. And some years are going to be absolutely downright catastrophic. And people give different reasons for this. It's the grand solar minimum or whatever. You know, one of the things we have tried to instill in our boys with homeschool is to always be a student of history. I think of all the subjects your children can study, whether they're in public school or you're homeschooling or whatever, is to put an emphasis on history. History is the most important subject that your kids can learn, because by learning history, you learn about mistakes, you learn about successes, achievements, things like that, and it makes you a smarter person. And that when things happen, you understand that, listen, this is just things that happen. And so one of the book series that I have, I'll show a picture here of some of the books. I've got some books, and I've got lots of different books. But when you read these historical books, especially on the books that are written about the area you live in, you realize that farmers throughout history have always had successes and failures. They have really great years, and some years that just are horrible. And that's just history. And so when you take that into account and then you try to experience these things for yourself, you understand that, you know, some things are just going to do good, some things aren't. This year, because of our family situation and everything, we had an okay year. We did really good on tomatoes. We got about 75 jars of salsa put up. So we had great peppers this year. But, you know, we had great onions this year. Another great year of onions. But, you know, like last year I tried to plant okra, and the okra was just abysmal. I mean, the plants came up and I just got nothing. And I don't know why, they just died. The plants looked really healthy when they first started coming up, but I don't know what happened. It's just what it is. You know, some years do great, some years just don't. And so I think you need to get that through your head and be prepared for, you know, the successes and failures that are going to come year by year. Anyway, but with the changing of the seasons, now becomes about meat. Historically, what people did was they tried their best to get whatever crops they could get, you know, for the summer and the spring and the fall, and then their attention turned towards butchering. So you gathered all your food in that you know from the summer, from your harvest, and then began the meat preparation. And historically, meat preparation always happened in the wintertime. Happened in the fall when the cooler temperatures came through, because that's when you butcher. It allowed you to, you know, no one likes butchering in the summertime. Ask anyone who butchers. They don't like butchering in the summertime. There's bugs, there's flies. It just makes meat preservation a hassle. And so meat preservation historically always took place in the wintertime. And so I did a video the other day of putting some salt blocks out. There's a salt block right there. That's the trophy rock. And I've got that other salt block. Where's it at? Over there on that stump. And my game cameras are showing some really good deer coming in. Got a lot of does. I got a nice buck that came in the other day. Here's a picture of that guy. He is a small 8-point, actually not a bad rack. His brow tines were pretty big, but just wasn't, you know, but he's a good sized buck. If I see him, I'll get him. But we're going to put as much meat in the freezer. We have a ram that's going to be butchered and put into the freezer this year. So we'll have some ram meat. And so didn't have a very good spring lambing. We lost 4 lambs. Again, you know, it is what it is. I'm not going to try to avoid doing winter lambing again, because 4 of my lambs froze to death last winter. So I've got 5 pregnant ewes right now that are ready to drop. And so that's going to take place pretty soon. And I'm preparing for that. And hopefully I'll get some meat out of those. They'll be ready to butcher hopefully by next spring. The males will be. The females will join the herd and be another set of producing females for the next year. But wintertime was the time of year when you began to stock up your meat, historically. And so, you know, and again, just like everything, you have good years and bad years of putting up meat. Hopefully the hunting season will go good. I've got my son last year, he got 2 deer, and hopefully he'll get another 2 deer this year. My youngest is going to try again to go out this year. Last year, he was just a little bit too young. He's 6 years old, and he just would not stay still, you know, on that deer stand long enough. He just got impatient. So he's learning. He's 6 years old. He was 5 years old last year. This year, he'll be 6. And so we'll see how he does this year. But he really wants to go hunting this year. So, and then I'll probably kill, you know, a few deer this year as well. And so all of that will go into burger. We have our solar-powered freezer. And that meat will go into the solar-powered freezer as burger, some frozen burger, but also we'll try to maybe make sausage this year or salami this year again with some of that meat. And it's just fresh meat. The world, just to get a little bit more history, the world celebrates a holiday called Carnival. And if you look at the meaning of that word, it means end to meat. And it usually takes place in the springtime, starting around February, March. And it coincides with the U.S. holiday, the holiday that a lot of people celebrate in the U.S. Called Mardi Gras. And that Fat Tuesday, historically, was the last day you could have meat, because as temperatures warm, then the meat production goes down. Fresh meat goes down. And the Catholic Church played a role in that historically to end meat. And so you were not allowed to eat meat for the beginning of spring, for most of spring. And that was mostly the Roman religious holiday. And there's a whole bunch of pagan traditions that get rolled up into that and why they do that today. But anyway, Carnival, it was an end to meat. And so wintertime is the time of meat. And so that's what we're looking forward to coming up now. We're going to harvest as much meat as we can and get that stuff ready for our own consumption. Just to give you an update on that trophy rock, you can already see the deer have definitely been licking on this, but they're already starting to chew up that, look at that, they're already starting to chew up that stump. That's crazy. But yeah, so they're hitting this rock pretty good already, and I've got lots of pictures from that game camera there, and there's another game camera, oh, it's over on that tree right there. Okay, so I got to go ahead and put this disc back in there. Oh, I gotta do this one-handed. Okay, there we go. Open that bad boy up. Got some, Tim gave me these batteries. These are Amazon batteries. They're actually cheaper than your Duracells or Energizer batteries, and they're pretty good batteries so far. They've worked out pretty well. So I'm gonna put this, where's it at? There it is. Put that up in there. Flip this to on. Close it up. It's got a timer of 30 seconds. That's ready to go. Let's go do the next one. Okay, go ahead and flip this one open it up. I got Duracells on this one. Put the disc back in there. Turn it to on. It's already set up properly. You don't need to program that. I've already programmed it. It has options for video on here. It does actually pretty good video. I was kind of impressed by it. So now that's ready to go. We're also getting ready to look for coral mushrooms. Now this area I'm in now, it's the same area that I usually put my salt blocks on. This area produces a lot of coral mushrooms, and there's just an abundance of them. And last year we got so many, and we actually made a really good meal with it. I put a good picture. Here's a good picture I posted up on Facebook last year of some of our coral mushrooms that we harvested, and lion's mane is another mushroom that you can find in this area, although it's not as abundant. But the coral mushrooms are just in abundance out here. And so we got some rain coming up in the next few weeks. Lowering temperatures should make those mushrooms pop and pop like crazy. And so I'm looking forward to coming out here and walking around and picking as many as I can get. And you can preserve those by drying them if you want to, but we don't. We just go ahead and eat them. You know, it'll work for a couple of meals, and we'll harvest as many of those as we can. So when we do that, I'll come out here. A friend of mine saw some coral mushrooms on his property already, but they were kind of dried out. Maybe they came in a rain and during a time when temperatures fell down a little bit, but the majority of the coral mushrooms have not yet popped, but they will pop soon. Something else worth mentioning historically when it comes to living a more agricultural based lifestyle is when it comes to weather. You're going to have years where it's going to be hotter than other years. You're going to have years when it's colder than other years. I'm not one of these people who are big into climate change. I think that's mostly a bunch of bunk, mostly because it seems like every decade is the last decade that humanity is going to be able to survive. I think I remember back in 2000, everyone said, if we don't do something about our climate, by the year 2000, we'll all be dead. And then it changed it from like 2010. If we don't do something about our climate, by 2010, we're all going to be dead. And then now they're saying, if we don't do something about climate by 2020, which is next year, we're all going to be dead. I'm not buying that. It's just the same story over and over again. And again, being a student of history, you look throughout your history books and you realize that people saw crazy temperature swings. The people who live the agricultural-based lifestyle are the ones who deal with that the most, more than anyone else, because their crops, their livelihood, everything they have that surrounds their entire existence deals with temperature, okay, and the climate and the environment. And so, but people who are new to this, or people who are not students of history, or who live in air-conditioned, controlled homes, don't have a good grasp on this, and they lose sight of history and how this has always played a big role in people's lives. And so I think that this year was it's a pretty hot year, and then also I go back and I look, mosquito on my hand, I got him. Anyway, but have you ever heard of the siesta? The siesta. It's traditionally, and that's just not something that you saw in Mexico happening or in Spain, where it's a big still to people to do today, siestas. During the hottest time of the day, that's when you went inside and you took a nap. You went inside at about 11, 12 o'clock, and you came back out when it was about 3 or 4 o'clock, and then you worked in the evening, when the temperatures were cooler. It's just something that people did throughout history because they didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have a climate-controlled environment they could escape to. So they got into the shade and they took a nap. I love doing that, by the way. I do it. Tim does it. He's 70 years old and he's out there working his butt off and, building stuff, working on building projects. And he goes in and takes a nap, during the afternoon sometimes when it's really hot. I do too. I don't like going out here. There's no way I'm coming out here when it's, 100 degrees. In the afternoon, the sun's beating down on you. I'm not working out in this. No way. Absolutely not. I'm going to go take a siesta. I'm going to go take a nap on the couch. And I'll come back out and do stuff. Like right now, it's 7 o'clock in the evening. And I'm out here checking my game cameras, putting the game cameras back. I got to do some other things around the homestead. And then I'm going to, but I'm not going out here at like 2 or 3 o'clock. And so I think it wears on you. It is. And the older you get, I'm 42. I'll be 43 this year. And I've noticed, my age, I'm not the same young guy as I used to be. And, things like this take its toll on me. And it will you as you get up in those, the older you get. So, but yeah, historically speaking, that's what people did, during the hottest times of the day. They took a break. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just is the way it is. That you can be more productive during cooler temperatures than you can be when it's 100 degrees plus outside. It's as simple as that. But it doesn't mean the world's ending. It doesn't mean we're all going to die and the climate change is going on and we need to elect Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her new Green Deal to make everything okay in the world. There's a little mushroom. I don't know what this guy is, but there's lots of different mushrooms. He's definitely not something I would eat. Can't tell if that's a polypore. Looks like a polypore, type of polypore, but I don't know what he is, so I'm not going to eat him. But there's lots of mushrooms that are popping up here and there. There's mushrooms that are always popping up no matter what time of year it is. You just got to look for them and educate yourself on which ones are good to eat and which ones you can utilize for a food source. And a lot of these have great medicinal values. I don't know what this guy is, but again, I'm not going to eat him because I can't definitely identify him. But I know the ones I have identified that we find here in abundance that we harvest whenever we find them is turkey tails. My kids picked some turkey tails the other day, and we're using those for Jamie for medicinal reasons. Also reishi mushroom, chaga mushrooms, which don't grow in this area, but they grow in other parts of the country, especially up north. And they grow on birch trees. But around here, coral mushrooms, morel mushrooms, turkey tail mushrooms, reishi mushrooms, and a number of other ones that we've identified and that we harvest when we can. So anyway, guys, we'll leave it at that. Glad you checked in with the homestead, and we're getting ready for hunting season coming up soon. And pretty happy with everything that's gone through this year when it comes to growing and harvesting and all that. Wish we could have done more, but you know, that is the way it is every year. And so next year we're going to be taking a break in our garden. We're going to give it the 7th year rest. And so we're going to let a lot of things lay. And yeah, it's just the circle of life continues. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video if you haven't done that already. Check us out over at patreon.com. It's you patrons that keep this channel afloat and keep us going. So go over to patreon.com, give a look-see at patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead and support the channel if you could. All right, see you next time on the homestead. Hey there, thanks for watching our channel. If you're looking for great off-grid homesteading videos, this is the channel for you. Hit that subscribe button and be sure to like the video you just watched. You can also feel free to send us your questions by going to AnAmericanHomestead.com on our contact page and send me your question. Your question might get made into a video. In the meantime, check out some of these other great videos. Oh wait, go ahead and click them. Go ahead.